Oh, well, good morning to everybody. What an exciting time. It has been a year and a half since we've had anybody in this room on several of our lunch talks. This room was completely empty, and you stand behind a podium looking like an idiot, talking to a little thing that you can hardly see in the back of the room. So it's really nice to have people with us today, and hopefully our numbers will grow again as people feel more comfortable coming in to the community room. And maybe by next month we won't need masks, so we can actually see each other's faces. This is an exciting time. It's actually fall today, which feels really good, although it'll be in the 90s later this week. And the longest serving man in space. Anybody know who that is? William Shatner, yep. I mean, he spent years and years in space. The 90-year-old guy went up this morning in the Blue Origin capsule for a 4-minute flight that was less time than most Disney rides. And Disney rides generally are a lot cheaper than what it costs to go into space. But he was absolutely thrilled. I got a chance to watch that this morning. So as I say, this is our return to the lunch talks in person. And we're hoping that maybe by next month, as things improve, many of you have come to expect our coffee and other drinks and pastries that Marianne Quillitz, who's now in the back room, generously provides. But because of the safety protocols, we haven't been able to do that. So we're really looking towards November as being the real return to normal. Has anybody been looking at this thing? What is it? It's an entombment box. I guess that's the way to put it. This was buried in the ground in 1996. When Tempe was celebrating its 125th anniversary. And it was buried just outside of the museum at the corner of Rural and Southern in that little open space, with the instructions that it be opened at the time of the Sesquicentennial, which is this year. So it was recently dug up, and it is now on display. This will actually be, the contents will be revealed at our big Tempe 150 celebration in Beach Park. That's something you should have on your calendar. That's November 7th. It is going to be a day full of activities that celebrate a rather spectacular time, 150th anniversary. And we're the second oldest city in the valley, just a couple of years behind Phoenix. So that's a pretty big milestone. And whoever was responsible for this decided that maybe 25 years in the future, it would be good for a new generation to see what was going on at the time in 96. It's not official, but we're thinking of having a little contest to guess the contents, and we're thinking of maybe if there is a winner, it might be a small prize like a Lamborghini or something, or maybe linguini, I don't know. My Italian is not good, but some sort of recognition. So take a look at this and see how many things you can fit into it, and then try to determine what the contents might be, and then go on the Society's Facebook page and just send a note saying, this is what I think are the contents. And at the time of our festival on November 7th. The mayor then will talk more about it and reveal the contents, and then the winner will go home with a big fancy prize. All right. Also, I really want to express my thanks to Friendship Village, which for the past 5 years or so has been a sponsor of our lunch talks, and that's enabled us to generate some great speakers and help us provide the refreshments that we do, and they've been very generous. So before we start, I'd like to just take a second and have you meet Mark Young, who is the Director of Marketing and Sales at Friendship Village, and he's going to tell you just a little bit about what's going on over there. So Mark, take it away.
Hi, I'm Mark Young, and I'm the Director of Sales and Marketing here at Friendship Village in Tempe, Arizona. Friendship Village Tempe is a nonprofit entity which began in 1980 and provides quality residential housing for seniors, along with a wide array of services and amenities. Friendship Village is managed by Life Care Services, which started in 1971 and currently manages 133 communities in 32 states. Life Care Services manages 33,600 beds and employs more than 23,400 staff. Friendship Village is designed to offer an environment that enriches your life. The village's objective is to offer a lifestyle with services and programs based on your interests that will complement or augment your current lifestyle and well-being. The village's design allows for creativity and healthy lifestyle activities in a comfortable environment. As a life care community, the village offers residents a wide array of amenities and services, including the availability of on-site assisted living, memory care, healthcare center, a nurse practitioner clinic, and long-term care if needed. To learn more about Friendship Village, please visit us at friendshipvillageaz.com or call 480-831-5000. Friendship Village is proud to be a sponsor of the Tempe Historical Society and look forward to today's lunch talk.
Commitment for that? Okay, that's what he said. That's spoken like a true wishy-washy politician. Whatever you need is what we're going to get. So we're back. Hello, everyone. We were just having a side conversation here. So it is time to kick off the Sesquicentennial year of Tempe. This is a time that we had hoped to spread out over the whole year, but something called a pandemic got in the way last year and has forced us to crunch everything into the year end. But nonetheless, the excitement is here. 150 years for a city, particularly out west, is really a remarkable milestone. And the one who's at the reins of the city is a good friend. I've known him since the time that he first ran for city council back in 1898, and he has now ascended to the office of mayor, and that is really thrilling. He's a great friend and a true champion of this city. And I've always wanted to do this like one of the game shows where you say, "Come on down, Mayor Corey Woods."
Oh, I love it. So first of all, I want to say that the funny thing about being asked to sing is that there are many things when you become mayor that you don't know you're going to have to do. But it's pretty much like any job that you ever accept, where at the bottom there's that asterisk that says all other duties as assigned. That is pretty much the job of being mayor. All other duties as assigned. So I want to say, first of all, I'm just super happy to be with you today. I got back late last night. I happened to go to Ann Arbor, Michigan for the weekend to visit some old friends for a college reunion. And as you can see, a lot of the things going on with the flights these days being canceled. Southwest Airlines canceled over 2,400 flights. I happen to be on American Airlines, so for a while I thought I wasn't going to be affected by this. And one of my good friends said, well, I hope you still get back in time. And I said, oh, it's only on Southwest. I'll be fine. And literally within an hour of saying that, my flight got canceled too. So my Sunday night flight got canceled. My Monday night flight got canceled. And then yesterday, because I just didn't want to take the chance, because they had bumped my flight from 5 p.m. to 10:44 p.m. I remember the exact number because of how many times I was staring at the American Airlines app. We ended up making the decision. I drove down to Columbus, Ohio. Now think about how interesting this is. As someone who's a graduate now, my master's is at ASU, but my bachelor's is from the University of Michigan, to have to drive to Columbus, Ohio, where Ohio State University is, to actually get out of the Midwest to get back here. So I drove 3 hours in a rental car and hopped a flight and got back here around 8:30, 9 o'clock last night. So I can tell you it was great visiting my friends back in the Midwest, but it's even great to be back in Arizona with everyone here. So I'm supposed to be on a plane this weekend too. I'm a little worried about that already. So, a couple things here. I'm going to not try to go on for too long, but there are just some things I wanted to make folks aware of going forward as it pertains to the Sesquicentennial. We've got the big community event coming up on November 7th. We're going to be inviting all of the former mayors to participate in that program at this event, which would be great. We're also going to clearly invite the public as well to submit letters or notes that you'd like placed into the time capsule moving forward. I'm actually excited during that day. We're going to be revealing the contents of the previous time capsule that was buried back in 1996, which interestingly, based on my story, was the year I started undergrad. Interesting. So, but I really personally, and I've actually had a conversation with him about this, am most excited to read the letter that I know was placed in there by Mayor Neil Giuliano, who told me, he said, Corey, I'm not going to be in town that day likely, but at the end of the day, I have a letter that's there. So if you can take a look at that and make sure to read that to the folks, please make sure to do it. So since I talked to Neil, I will make sure to take care of that, but I'm very excited to see what he put in that letter from well over 25 years ago. The council is actually also going to be submitting another letter for the new time capsule, along with members of the public. And some of the content that we get out of the capsule that day is going to be displayed at the Tempe Beach Park event that day on November 7th. So please make sure to come down and check out all of the interesting things people put in that time capsule 25 years ago. And as I said before, make sure that you have some notes and letters for things that you'd like to contribute to the new time capsule. So 25 years from now, people can take a look at those items and see what we all thought and wrote about. I think given the last 18 months that we've gone through with the pandemic and so many other things, I think it could make for some very interesting notes. Also, I would say too, on Halloween, we're going to have Tales from the Double Butte Cemetery. So make sure to also check that event out as well. And the Legends Gala reception as well. And so I wanted to thank everyone for helping to organize that event. A couple of things I wanted to kind of point out too is our Indigenous Land Recognition Statement, which we adopted back in January of this year, and just want to kind of touch upon a few things that I know would pertain to sort of the history of the city of Tempe and the council, and all of us, frankly, doing honor to that. So the Land Acknowledgement Statement really tries to do our best at acknowledging a baseline recognition that can be used for future educational endeavors, programs, ceremonies, holiday observances, land use decisions, and more. I should really point out very much the land use decisions, because quite honestly, as we all know, the things that people get the most activated about here in the city of Tempe are land use decisions. People get very, very concerned about things that are going on. Obviously, the city is continuing to grow and get more dense and get taller. So we really are trying to make sure that this is not just simply an acknowledgement statement that was passed by council that we just simply put in a 3-ring binder somewhere and put in a drawer and walk away from. We're really trying to make sure that in everything we do, we are acknowledging the people and the ancestors who were here before us, and trying to make sure that we are really paying tribute and homage to that land that's there. And so you will see in a lot of the future requests for proposal or requests for qualifications, or RFPs or RFQs, as we kind of use in city jargon, they will contain either pieces of or the entire land acknowledgement statement, so that developers and people who are clearly trying to build buildings, commercial, multifamily, or whatever it happens to be in our community, they're clearly aware of the history and the origins of the city, and that they do justice and honor to that legacy. We actually, interestingly, I did get an email from someone the other day who was upset about the fact that we made the change to Indigenous Peoples Day. And we still get those emails, I want you to know. And I just said, look, we are trying to be historically accurate in this city. And I'll just say about Indigenous Peoples Day, that's actually something that's been done by our neighboring city of Phoenix, but it's also been done by over 100 other communities throughout the United States. So this is not something that is new. It's something that has been going on in an effort to really kind of more accurately reflect the history of not only Tempe or Arizona, but of the entire country. And so this is not just something the city of Tempe is doing. We're following the great lead of over 100 other communities that have adopted this throughout the United States. So I wanted to make sure I pointed that out. Also wanted to let people know too that later in November, the Tempe Center for the Arts is going to be presenting its first ever Indigenous Arts Arizona Festival at the TCA. So please make sure to mark your calendars for that. That's going to be a very, very exciting program. It's going to really kind of encompass a lot of cultural education and storytelling through traditional Native ways, including music, art, and dance. So please make sure to check that out. I'm sure you will see me there as well. We're also going to have the Arizona Historical Preservation Conference in town in the next 2 weeks. That reception is going to take place at the Hayden House, the old Monty's restaurant in the downtown. Many community members, it's going to be their first time being there since it was actually rehabilitated to its previous state in 1924. So if you haven't seen it, it's currently the offices for the Downtown Tempe Authority, a 501c3 business improvement district that runs and manages the downtown, including the parking and a lot of the properties. But if you have not had a chance to see the building since it was remodeled and redone and restored to that 1924 time period, please make sure to try to come down and take a look at it. One of the things that I can mention too is that when I was still on the city council, when we passed the development agreement that allowed the development to happen around that site, one of the things that we did was people talk a lot about what they call tax abatements or the government property lease excise tax, otherwise known as a GIPLET in shorthand. One of the things that the GIPLET is historically supposed to be used for, frankly, and that pun was intended, historic preservation. It's not supposed to be used for the purpose of just providing tax breaks for a developer who's trying to save money. It's supposed to be used if you're doing things such as providing affordable housing for people in the community, or frankly, providing for the historic preservation of structures that would be important to Tempe residents and to Arizonans. And so for the Hayden House, when we actually did the development agreement for that, we did give them an 8-year government property lease excise tax abatement. And we basically said, we are willing to do this, but if you damage any inch of the Hayden House in the process, the entire tax abatement goes away. And that was our way, frankly, as the council of using kind of a carrot and stick approach to say, we understand that the city of Tempe is going to continue to get developed. We know it's going to continue to look different, but you clearly have to make sure to protect the historic structures, the Hayden House obviously being one of probably the top 3 in this community. And so that's something else we might try to employ moving forward as well. If you're going to develop things on historic sites in this community, you may get some kind of tax abatement to make sure you save it, but you have to do justice to it, and you cannot damage any square inch of it, or you will lose that benefit. I also, at that Historic Preservation Conference, there's going to be the announcement of the coveted Keystone Award, so please make sure to attend as well for that. And I'll actually be providing the welcome and participating on a panel with a bunch of other Valley mayors later that week for that conference. So once again, the Arizona Historical Preservation Conference in 2 weeks at the Hayden House. Make sure to check that out and put it on your calendar. We also have a great partner in Tempe's sister cities that's going to join us in celebrating our 150th birthday, otherwise once again known as the Sesquicentennial. I just like saying that to prove to people that I can say it repeatedly. We're going to be doing a joint event with Skopje in July, which is one of our sister cities. And we're going to be sort of going over the Articles of Incorporation and having a big celebration for that at the Hackett House during the Sesquicentennial. And just wanted to very publicly thank Sister Cities for their partnership and all the great work they've done for our youth and many of the youth who've participated in that program for decades now. Now, just wanted to go over really quickly a very recent development or a proposal for a development. we, within the last probably 2 to 3 weeks or so, now probably 3, put out a request for proposals for the Hayden Flour Mill. I know I mentioned the Hayden House across the street earlier. And so there's been some conversation about that. I can't get into all of the details here today, but I can tell you at least what's contained in that document, because it is a public-facing document. You can go to tempe.gov and take a look and read it. I've read it probably 2 or 3 times straight through before we even put that onto the street. The reason why I can't talk about it primarily is when the kind of rules of procurement and just sort of from a legal standpoint, council members aren't allowed to discuss requests for proposal when they're currently active and people are looking to respond. So that's not me trying to be cagey, just trying to make sure I don't land in prison. Because I don't want to do that. So we have so that Hayden Flour Mill site is a 5-acre property. We really are looking for a development that kind of provides some economic value, but also reflects our community values. And just to tell you, even some of the conversations I had with our economic and community development directors before that actually went out. The primary thing that I even said, just in terms of, as mayor, trying to provide a little bit of guidance about what we might want at that site, because the last proposal was approved back in 2016. It was probably my second or third to last meeting before I left the city council. But there's been several proposals for a lot of you who know for over the years that have tried to go at that site, and none of them have ever come to fruition. And one of the things I started thinking about before we actually put something out was, I think some of the previous proposals were a little bit too big. And I think they frankly collapsed under their own weight because of the size, scale, and magnitude of what we were trying to do. The last proposal had designs for a hotel on site, using, I think, the silos potentially for hotel suites, a large music amphitheater that was going to kind of jut out of the mountain. And I mean, very, very hard stuff to pull off. Very expensive. You're talking about some, seriously historic landmarks, and you're also talking about tribal land. Once again, going back to the indigenous land acknowledgement statement I referenced earlier. So one of the things when we talked about this internally was, how can we put out something that really reflects and accurately portrays the culture and the history and heritage of the city, but not a project that's so big that, once again, it kind of goes the way of the previous projects and just doesn't go anywhere. The other thing I kind of said, and I will be very honest, some of you may be very happy to hear this, but the comment I made to our directors in those departments was, not everything has to be surrounded by large glass buildings. Some things can just be a celebration of the actual property and what it looks like and its natural aesthetic beauty. We can do things to enhance it. We can do things to activate it and provide economic opportunities for people there or for Tempe residents or visitors. But we don't have to wrap everything in tall glass, steel, concrete buildings. Some things, that's fine. It's appropriate. We're a growing community. But some things can just be sort of more of a reflection of what they actually are. And so with that, if you actually go and look at the request for proposals, you'll see certain things in there, and I'll kind of touch upon a few of those points. Arts and culture aspects to honor Tempe's Native American heritage, which is, of course, in keeping with our land acknowledgement statement. Sustainable elements to create both shade and power at the site. A communal space for people, such as an open plaza that people can use for picnics or weddings or just gathering spaces for Tempe residents to get together and talk. Space for local small businesses. And I want to say that very clearly, local. There's an emphasis in that document about trying to make sure that we're attracting local businesses, small and medium-sized, at different portions of their life cycle. People who are just starting up, people who might be starting their second location, but we really wanted to try to place an emphasis on people who are Arizona homegrown for this project. We can't always stop people from putting something else forward, but we can at least in these RFPs put forward a statement of what our values are as a community and try very hard to hold people to them. And obviously, too, we're going to continue to and hopefully create even possibly improved paths when it comes to access to the Hayden Butte Preserve for both residents and visitors. And that RFP, as I mentioned before, is going to close on November 4th. So about probably 2-3 weeks from now or so, you will see that. And I will say, one of the things that's actually also in the document is there is a plan to make sure that before the council even sees the proposals, that anyone who submits a bid or a response to this will go back to folks with the Historic Preservation Commission for the city, as well as the Tempe Historic Preservation Foundation, to take a look at the proposals and let the council and let staff know what they think. So for anyone who's part of those groups, you will see the proposal before I will even see the proposal. That's how important that is to me and to the other members of our city council and our city staff, is to make sure that we are getting valuable input from our community, but most importantly from the folks who are involved and care deeply about historic preservation. So I just wanted to make sure that you knew that. Other than that, I can probably stop in a second here and just sort of be done, because I've not looked at my watch, and that's always very dangerous when you're in politics, is you give someone in politics an open mic and you walk away, you might be here for a few hours. But I promised I would not be that person, but I'm going to go right to the back for a question.
Because we're broadcasting this.
Oh, yeah.
Sure. Does this work? Yep. Okay. On that note, the Hayden Flour Mill, would, after the Historic Preservation Commission review, would some group or person or corporation then be chosen? Would one have to be chosen? I'm not really asking because I don't really recall what happened last time, but that's part of whatever you're talking about.
Sure, absolutely. It's a great question, too, about the process. So the city owns that site. And so what we do is we put out a request for proposals for qualified developers to basically kind of mock up a proposal for what they think that site could be. And then they submit those to the city. The city at that point takes a look at it. It goes through our procurement process. We put together a panel of people, which I'm sure will include people from the historic preservation community. They will then make a recommendation to the city council if there's, about who should be awarded the project, if any. They could look at any proposals that come back and say, none of these are good enough. We're not going to recommend the council make an award to anybody. Or they might recommend that one of them does get it, and at the end of the day, the council will have to make the decision about if they think that that project should be awarded. But yes, at that point, kind of qualified, mostly private sector developers would come forward with their kind of sketches and uses of what they think that site could look like. Lon.
Mayor, in 1996, I was down there for the dedication of the Charles Trumbull Hayden statue there on East 5th Street, across from City Hall next to the police station. Mm-hmm. And I was wondering if is there any kind of a permanent art piece that's going to be dedicated for the 150th that lasts forever, like commonly happens?
I haven't had any conversations with anyone about it right now, but I think it's a great idea. And obviously, we've got several members of our staff here in the room today, so I'm more than happy to follow up with them after this meeting. But I think it's a great suggestion about something else that we could do potentially to commission a piece of artwork that would be kind of Tempe specific, that would also stand for the next 150 years. So we can definitely have that conversation. I appreciate the idea.
Yes, just 1 minute.
I was noticing, I take the buses home from the ASU game, and I noticed that all the orbits run late, but the Jupiter does not. Why is that?
So that's a great question. I'll have to ask our transit staff about. I'm sure there's probably something that they've seen in the ridership that has made the Jupiter kind of have a different route than a lot of the other orbit buses. But I can definitely take a look whenever we get back to you later on today, because I'm glad to see you both here. So I'll find out for you and I'll let you know. I should also say something else about the bus system, just to clear up something. Someone had tagged me in a post on Facebook about some signs that mistakenly went up on the orbit. We were putting up some signs for the purpose of telling people to enter through a different spot on the bus. But one of the messages on the orbit then said, to collect your fare, kind of go here. And obviously the orbits are free. And so I got some, concern from some residents who reached out and said, wait a minute, is the city talking about beginning to charge a fare for the orbit bus and not make it free anymore? That was actually, I want to say that was a mistake. And we're actually going through all the orbit buses right now and updating the signage to take that language about fares off of the bus. So the orbit is going to remain a free bus. I'm glad you actually prompted me to address that in this venue. Yes. You know what? That's good. If I don't make lists these days, I will forget everything.
Well, I've been upset that the Tempe government has been shut down for the past year and a half, and people can't get access, including me, access like housing department and stuff like that, and there's always been community events out there. For the last 3 years, how come Tempe government hasn't paid attention to the famous Greta from Sweden?
The famous, what from Sweden?
Greta from Sweden?
I think he's talking about Greta Thunberg.
Oh, okay.
The environmental.
I'm not sure. So two things to your first two questions. So I've only been back for 16 months now. So the previous time before that, I'd have to talk to staff to find out. But in terms of the city government being shut down, we are actually going back to in-person meetings tomorrow, which I'm super excited about. I've been mayor for 16 months now. We have not yet had an in-person council meeting. And frankly, you miss a lot in those situations. The public doesn't get a chance to attend. But I also want to be around my colleagues. It's very hard sometimes when you're, as you all know at this point, on Zoom calls to read people's body language when they're not in the same room with you, or if someone's camera happens to be turned off. So we are going to be going back to the council chambers for public meetings starting tomorrow, October 14th.
But like I said, Greta Thunberg has been around for over 3 years, and Tempe government never paid attention to her, and you still refuse. I've been repeating the same thing even before she was born, something like finally synchronize the traffic lights, and once and for all, get rid of those gas hog polluting things that landscapers use. Because obviously now, a while ago, Oakland, California, and now all of California is banning those polluting things.
Yeah, the gas leaf blowers. Yeah, I just saw that. Yep.
Because I've been a bicyclist since last century, 6 days a week, so I can smell it, and I got COPD, so it makes worse. And the last thing, can somebody finally do something with Times Publications in West Tempe?
Times Publications for West Tempe?
They're in West Tempe, but they've abandoned Tempe because they got rid of the blue boxes to put the weekly East Valley Tribune in it, and they stopped delivering it in the Walgreens. They banned it, so every Monday morning it's a hit and miss. I have to pollute the air and go to Walgreens in West Mesa to pick it up.
So you're saying
but why can't somebody straighten out Time Publications and do the proper thing and distribute it like they used to?
Well, I could ask. I mean, they're a private company, so if they've made the decision not to distribute in Tempe, I'd have to find out why. Maybe their readership is higher in West Mesa than it might be in Tempe. But the city wouldn't have any definite control about that. But I could definitely reach out to them and see if I could find out why they're no longer providing that publication within our city limits. That would probably provide me with at least some background and some information. On your question about Greta, I can talk to our sustainability director, Dr. Braden Kay, and chat with him and see. We've got a number of sustainability initiatives that we are pushing forward at the city of Tempe in a pretty robust climate action plan. But I'm happy to talk to Dr. Kay and kind of see what his thoughts on that might be, and happy to circle back with you as well. No, well, we're constantly looking to and striving to improve. I know we had a conversation at our last work study meeting last week about how we were going to better improve the what we call the council communicator system, where residents can click one link and email the city council, as well as all of our department heads and relevant staff members. But we're talking about ways to even further update that system to really allow residents to more directly engage with members of the city council or with staff on issues that are important with them. I'm definitely not an IT guy and not a technology guy. I can work my cell phone, but that's pretty much about it. But at the same time, we absolutely, constantly strive, and staff and council have discussions about how can we update software, how can we update and improve the website, and even most importantly, how can we update and improve ways that residents can communicate with us if they want to voice an issue to us. Well, I think the public forums largely stopped due to COVID. I think what was happening, there were a number of council members that I know during my last stretch on the council when I left in July of 2016, including myself, that were sort of holding regular public events where residents could come out and spend time with us and ask conversations of not only us, but frankly also senior staff. We would many times bring directors there, but I think over the last 18 months with the COVID-19 pandemic, a lot of those things have stopped because we were trying not to encourage in-person gatherings, especially those indoors. I know that even our Getting Active in getting Arizona involved in neighborhoods, otherwise known as game night events, over the last couple of years have been somewhat abbreviated because of that. We're still, a lot of the neighborhood groups are doing what the Tempe Games by Giving event. I was actually looking over at Ron Tapscott's picture on that banner. But I know one of the things that we're trying to do this year for folks who, some people are going to go back to having regular in-person game night events where people are going to gather and congregate. Others are going to kind of not do that same ceremony, but still would like to collect food and other goods for people in need. So please make sure to go. Even he's posted it on several Facebook pages, or reach out to myself or my aide, Brianne Fisher, and we can talk to you about how to participate in GAIN, whether it's in person or whether it's donating food and clothes and other items for those in need. Because even if we can't get together, there are people who are clearly suffering and struggling through this pandemic in a very serious way. And so I think that whatever we can do as a community to support them is something we can all definitely get behind.
Yes, why aren't people up front? Old man running around, feel like William Shatner.
I just wanted to make you walk, Vic. Mr. Mayor, thank you for being here. I just wanted to ask you something, if you don't mind, a personal question. With Tempe 150, 150 years of history, that includes everybody's personal history and everybody's current history. History's not yesterday, it's today. But do you have any particular favorite memories of Tempe or favorite spot that makes you really happy to be in Tempe?
Oh my God, that's a great question, and there's so many, but if I could think of just a couple. I remember the first day that I ever set foot in the city of Tempe back in 2003 when I first moved here. And I remember getting off the plane at Phoenix Sky Harbor. Interestingly, I was kind of starting graduate school at Arizona State University. And like any person who wasn't familiar with the Southwest and a college student, I was wearing a coat, to which the second I stepped off the plane, I burst into an immediate sweat. And someone looked at me and said, "Young man, take off that coat." So I remember that, but I remember going into the city, and I remember my first day going to buy books at Arizona State University. And it's actually kind of a very interesting story because my mother, when she was still alive, she came out here to help me get settled in my apartment. And so one of the best memories I have was of her, and this is just what parents do for their children, the things that you don't always gain a total appreciation of until you get older and get some more perspective. But I remember my mother, I was trying to set my apartment up because all the stuff had arrived, the furniture and some of my personal belongings. And I'm thinking, I've got all this stuff with styrofoam peanuts and bubble wrap and cardboard boxes all around the apartment, and I need to set this up. But I also was enrolled for classes at ASU. So I also needed to go to the bookstore and buy books. So my mother, as I'm trying to do both things, said, "Corey, just go get the books. Your number one responsibility needs to be school and getting your diploma. And I will stay here and I will unwrap everything for you and set it all up." And I remember thinking to myself, well, but Mom, I can't leave you here without a car while I just sort of traipse around downtown trying to buy books. And she said, "Corey, just leave me a couple of bottles of water and I'll be fine." And so she, over the next 2-3 days, set up everything in my apartment, didn't ask for anything, didn't even ask for a thank you, just felt like that was what she wanted to do for her oldest child, while I went out in 117 degrees and bought books. So it's a very fond memory of just my first one of my first moments in Tempe, but also my mother. So, who will have been gone for 10 years in January. I can't believe the time is gone, but I can remember that moment of her sitting in my first apartment in Tempe like it was just yesterday. And then honestly, the other thing, of course, I have to, mention is, winning my first city council race back in 2008, when I was 29 years old. As I mentioned, I came here in 2003, so that meant from being a complete newcomer to the city of Tempe, not having any family, not having any friends down here. Within 5 years, I got elected to the spot on the Tempe City Council. And for me, that was a really kind of heartwarming moment, because I kept thinking to myself, I think if I feel like this is the kind of community where if you work hard and run on the right set of issues and really connect with the neighborhoods and the people who live here and make up the heart and soul of this community, I think you can pretty much do anything you want. I think the sky's the limit. And that was one thing that living in Tempe proved to me, not just through my own election, but through what I see people do each and every day in this community. This is really a place where people are loving and caring and kind. And if people want to roll up their sleeves and get involved and do good things here, everyone seems to open up their arms to embrace them. And it's something that I've really seen about Tempe that I haven't seen in pretty much anywhere else that I've been. So I've been here now 18 years, going on 19. It's an amazing community, and I can't ever see myself living anywhere else other than Tempe, Arizona.
Yes, you have a question.
I see Hugh Holman's name over here, and he was mayor at the time. He made a remark about Tempe going to have a veterans memorial, and he was talking down at the lakefront where that old bridge drops off, and said, well, this might be the location. I've never heard anything since then. Is that a plan?
Yeah, I know the Rio Salado Foundation is currently having conversations about that. I'm now as mayor chair of that board. So along with projects like the boathouse, which is still currently being discussed, and we're out raising money, the Veterans Memorial is something that's still very high on the minds of myself and the people on that commission. We also have done a lot of other things related to veterans. My brother, my younger brother, happens to also be a veteran of Operation Iraqi Freedom, and spent a year in northern Iraq back in 2005, 2006. Robert Arredondo Savage, Councilmember Arredondo Savage, and Vice Mayor Randy Keating are also both veterans. And so, so everything from Tempe having its own Veterans Commission to looking at other programs like the Community Salutes Program, where we honor people who are going into the military, to the Valor on 8th housing project over at 8th, right across from Four Peaks, which was originally built as 50 units of affordable housing for women veterans with families who were looking to make connections back to ASU and the Pat Tillman Center to continue their education. We really have a serious commitment in the city of Tempe to the people who've served our country in uniform. And so I'll continue to work with the Rio Salado Foundation on trying to find ways to make that Veterans Memorial reality down by Tempe Beach Park, or at somewhere else in this community where it might fit well.
If I can just add, I go back a few more years past Corey, but the Friends of Rio Salado, some people might remember that. That was formed when Neil Giuliano was mayor and the lake just opened. And we worked on it for about 5 years to create a memorial, and nobody expected it to be as complex an affair as it was. Everybody was for it, but everybody had a special interest, and it really became a challenge. Yeah. And it's something the city definitely needs. So I know that the mayor will continue to work on that. If I can offer just a couple of criticisms.
Sure. Only a couple?
Well, no, I have a longer list in here, but one, I think, as mayor, you're the spokesman for the city of Tempe. Is that correct?
Yes.
Why can't you have more enthusiasm about our city?
I really have to perk up. I've always been an introvert and a little bit of a wallflower, so I'm trying very hard now to come out of my shell.
Yeah, well, you're already mayor, so let's get going with it. I mean, I want to see excitement and animation, and not just somebody just standing up there.
For you, Vic, I will do anything. So.
All right, well, okay, now we're on that subject.
Yes.
May I approach the mayor? There's
Please.
no security detail here?
No, Brian, you okay? Okay, good.
All right. What the hell is this? What is that?
Well, it's a tie, but not one of the Tempe variety, which I see Mr. Linoff has in his hand.
Why are you, and you learn to say sesquicentennial, so I am thrilled with that. Even with a master's degree, they don't teach language skills like that.
Well, apparently my phonics are very good, but apparently my sense of style is very much outdated. So this is why Vic has to bring me stuff.
I mean, this is the tie that you need to put on, and I mean, if that's what I said, you know, if you're going to be enthusiastic, and you can still work on that, at least put on the tie.
My promise to you, Mr. Linoff, is that when we definitely have that event on November 7th, I will be out there wearing this very tie.
Okay.
That is on record.
Yes, and recorded.
Exactly.
So you know, I don't need to make any apologies for the mayor, but the city's been through a terrifically hard time. Nobody ever could have planned for what the last year and a half has been like. Even here at the museum, to reorganize itself into a way it could still be meaningful in the community and restrict visitors, and we have to wear masks. Everybody is doing this with the best things that they can do. And I think Tempe has done a great job. And obviously we're thrilled that now there can be in-person meetings, because it just isn't the same. Zoom came along at a perfect time, because it's allowed for us to have some communication, but not the type of communication that you get with this direct interaction. I couldn't be as hard on you as a Zoom call. You know, reaching out, all I do is put my hand in front of the camera instead of actually grabbing the tie. And I could see there was a real concern there. Do we need to call the police in? What is this guy going to do to the mayor? So I want to give kudos to the city. Could things have been done better? Sure, in retrospect, but you don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. We're hoping by November 7th that a lot of these restrictions, like masks, may eventually not even be a requirement. Has everyone here had their vaccine?
Oh.
All right. If you haven't, get out. See, I can say that.
I was going to say. Oh, man, I'm in so much trouble.
You've had yours.
I have.
And you had COVID.
I did. I had one of the most public cases of COVID that a person could probably have. Getting COVID 4 days before you're supposed to get sworn in as mayor is a very interesting time to come down with a virus. But at the end of the day, you know, it's funny because at that time, and people can probably remember that, where we were emotionally at that period, it was still kind of this sort of interesting, like scarlet letter that was on people. It was, you know, like nowadays people get COVID and we kind of just say, well, you know, quarantine at home for 10 days. But around that time, there was still this kind of aura around it of like, well, what did you do wrong? Or what were you engaging in that got you this? And so it was very interesting. There were a lot of people who commented, as I was sort of trying to get over the fever and the body aches that came with it over the first 2-3 days, who were sending me these sort of nasty notes on Twitter and Facebook, basically saying, you know, kind of like, this is your fault and you clearly must have done something that you shouldn't have been doing. I'm like, if anyone knows me, I live an amazingly boring life. There's really nothing exciting that was going on. But, you know, but it's interesting that I remember back at that point, you know, making the decision that I wanted to go public and talk about my own diagnosis, because I was trying to, at that point, get rid of a lot of the stigma that surrounded the virus at that period of time. I didn't want people to feel any shame. I didn't want people to have people going after them like some people went after me on social media or through email. I wanted to let people know that this is an airborne virus that's obviously gripping not only our country, but our entire world. And while we want everyone to be safe, sometimes things are going to happen. But I wanted to make sure that I told my story very publicly so people didn't feel any shame and other people wouldn't shame others who came down with it. So I'm glad we've clearly moved on from that time period. But I will say this. I was still quarantined that was when the quarantine period was at 10 days. It was 14. And the interesting part about being kind of like the newly elected mayor of the city is that I felt like I needed to get a negative test result before I really began to venture outside of my home again, because people, if I was out in public, would recognize me and be like, hey, this guy just got COVID. What's he doing walking around all the time? So unfortunately, the first test I had was positive. The second test, when I retested after I didn't feel any symptoms, was still positive. And so it took me that third test before it finally left my system and I tested negative. And I will tell you, so I was quarantined in my home by myself, and I live alone. I don't have any pets for 21 days. I didn't have any human interaction other than Brianne coming by my home to have me sign documents and leaving them on my front door, and then having to back away at an appropriate distance so I could open the door, pick them up and sign them and push them right back out the door. There is not enough on Netflix to be home by yourself for 21 days. I was calling people, having very interesting conversations and saying, hey, has anyone seen this show on Netflix called The Babysitter's Club? This is freaking amazing. And they were like, I'm like, look, I'm watching anything I can find up in here. I'm sitting up here, I'm getting my groceries delivered, so that was my life for 21 days.
So that stored up energy is just still unwinding, like with a deep inhale of a cigarette and all the smoke just pouring out for hours. The energy is still there. So Corey, we appreciate your coming in to kick off the Sesquicentennial, and I just want to remind folks of a couple of things. One is this rather mundane, ugly-looking box will be on display at the festival on November 7th, and the mayor will be the one responsible for unloading this. He'll wear protective gear and that sort of thing, maybe wear a mask, just to make sure that everything is good inside. If you think you want to try to guess what is in this container, and none of us know because it has not been opened yet, go to the Facebook page, the Society's Facebook page, and say, I think these are the things that are in there. And as I said, maybe courtesy of the city, the winner will get a Lamborghini. So this is how generous our mayor is. And then the mayor also alluded to the Historic Preservation Conference. This is an annual event that is a statewide conference, people that are connected to the preservation community. And I think that, pardon? It is open to the public, but you have to register. It's not a free event. But this is the first time I think Tempe has been able to host this conference. And it's coming at a pretty good time when preservation issues are front and center, like the mill. The mayor is going to give a morning welcome for the opening day of the conference. And then in that afternoon is what's called a public policy session. What often happens in preservation is that people complain over the fact that they wanted to get something done and the mayor and council overruled them and they lost the battle. And part of that is because there's a real lack of communication. Often our elected officials don't understand all of the nuances and issues regarding preservation. And so this is an attempt to bring leadership in a community together with the preservation community to reach common understanding of issues. And few will disagree that historic buildings in a community are one of that city's greatest assets. So the mayor will be part of a panel with Mayor Giles from Mesa, and I think it's going to be now the mayor of Scottsdale.
Oh, Mayor Ortega, yes.
And I'm sorry, I forgot his name. He's a county supervisor.
Is it
Santa Cruz County?
Not Jack Sellers, is it?
No, Santa Cruz County.
Santa Cruz, oh.
Down by Nogales.
Okay.
So we get a rural aspect to this and not all urban. And to have our mayor on that panel and also welcoming Arizona preservationists is really an important thing and is going to raise our prestige, I think. If you want to attend, you can go to Arizona Preservation Conference online, and all the information about registering for the conference is there. Not everything is geared for probably an average citizen. Some of the workshops are kind of technical. One other positive thing, and that's just been announced, there are awards that are given every year, the Governor's Heritage Awards to individuals and projects over the past year that are of great excellence and should be recognized. And then also, it was just started a couple of years ago, the Elizabeth Ruffner Award, who is a community activist in Prescott. This year, Darlene Justice, if you know Darlene, have you heard of Darlene?
We've met. She was actually in my office last week having a conversation about some items.
Not this week yet?
Not this week yet, no.
Oh, you were out of town. For those that know Darlene, she is one of the most active people in the city. She helped create the Tempe Historic Preservation Foundation and was the leader in working with the city to acquire the Eisendrath House and restore it. She works in preservation. She works to make Tempe a better community, and she can be a pest, but that's sometimes what it takes in order to get things done.
Well, I will say first, I love working with Darlene. I've worked with her since I first got on the city council back in 2008, but even prior to that, when I ran the first time and didn't win, she and I developed a great relationship, and her and Kim Gaffney-Loza, who run the North Tempe Neighborhood Association, do a great job at balancing all the needs of that community while trying to continue to have our city move forward. So she's an amazing, incredible human being, and she's truly a Tempe treasure.
Yeah, she really is. So one other criticism, while I think, because I've been looking at that, most people in office, particularly presidents, you see start out with a full head of dark hair, and by the end of their term, it's white and gray. Well, you got a little bit, but see, you're not revealing your real self without, you've got to let it grow long so we can see how you are progressing in office.
Well, here's the thing. So I would say that my hairline has been receding for probably 10 years now. And then about a year ago or so, when I was going to brush my hair, and I touched the back of my head, and I'm like, wait, that's not hair, that's skin. So now I'm going bald as well. So I'm losing, it's going back here and here. And the only hair that's continuing to grow is the hair of my face, which is, as Vic says, is getting grayer and grayer by the day. And every time I see someone, they say, this job is really aging you. And I'm like, maybe it is, but I still love it.
Yeah, and as you get older, in fact, if you ever want to trade, I'm trying to get people that will trade with me for a decade to see what their future looks like when they're this age, and I can go back and have the fun I should have had when I was your age. Nobody wants to do that, but you reach a certain milestone in life, and yeah, up here it's not doing much, but it sure grows everywhere else. Out of the ears, 14 feet, Andy Rooney eyebrows, nasal hair. Well, I don't need to go into the details, but that's what you have to look forward to, even if it's not on
something
top.
to look forward to.
So, Corey, thank you so much.
Thank you
for coming, and we appreciate all the effort you made to get here. All of airline travel is not fun anymore. It is absolutely a battle, and so we are delighted that you helped kick this off, and we look forward to seeing you at all the Sesquicentennial events.
Absolutely. No, Vic, I really appreciate you moderating this event, and thanks to all of our staff, and thanks to all of you who are here today watching in person, and obviously the folks watching at home on Tempe 11. Thank you so much, and just appreciate the time.
Thanks, man. Okay, we've gone through what most of these events are like. Oh, wait, why don't you put the tie on for that photo? Oh, jeez. Oh, yes, you can. I've worn mine for many years. Thank you, Corey.
just a couple of reminders. Corey touched on them, but there are so many activities that are taking place now over the next 2 months for the Sesquicentennial, because we've had to collapse it against what's happened over the last year and a half. So the things I really want to draw to your attention to, and it's the first time since 2012, I believe, the Tempe Historic Preservation Foundation on Halloween is doing a tour of the Double Butte Cemetery, Tales of the Double Butte. And this is an opportunity to meet some of the important residents of the cemetery, people that you know and people that you may not know as well, but were important contributors to Tempe history. And you can go to the museum's website, and I think also the Tempe 150 website will have a list of events, and these are on Eventbrite, so you can register there. Also, I probably shouldn't give a plug for another city, but the Mesa Historical Museum will be having a cemetery tour on the 23rd of October, and that cemetery is a rather incredible place. Its population is greater than the city of Prescott. There are over 35,000 permanent residents in the in the Mesa Cemetery, and some really very well-known and influential people. And if you ever go there, Waylon Jennings, you've got to go see his marker and grave, and it's not a big monument, it's just a polished onyx flat on the ground, but people every day come and leave whiskey, and they leave his favorite foods. You can get a whole meal right around the gravesite for people that remember Waylon Jennings, who was a big fellow here in Tempe. Wednesday, November 3rd, at 6:30 is the opening of the Tempe 150 exhibit. This is our exhibit that's going to celebrate the Sesquicentennial in a big way, and that's free admission if you want to attend that. We also are recognizing as the society the 13 legends, is that right, Lon? 20 legends. 12 living legends and 7 that unfortunately left us before we were able to recognize them. But we're going to do that at a wonderful reception Friday, November 5th, right here at the museum. And then finally, of course, the big celebration at Tempe Town Lake, that will be free. There's 2 stages of music, lots of activities, and that's the time to come out and show your pride for this wonderful city. Finally, next month's lunch talks, let everybody know that we're open for business so we can fill the room up. In the past, we've had as many as 200 here. Dr. Christine Marine will be the speaker. She just won a very prestigious Arizona Humanities Council Award. If you watch Channel 8, they've been running a filler piece about Tempe's Hispanic history, and Christine is featured in that short little piece. And she'll be talking about the Mexican women of the Tempe Territorial Normal School, a look at the cultural and educational foundation of Tempe, 1885 to 1936. So we hope that you'll join us then. That is November 10th, the second Wednesday of the month. And also for those folks who are here in the lobby, we have a little brochure that lists all of the lunch talks that we'll be having. And maybe we'll be able to serve you some food next time. So with that, thank you to those who made it out here to the museum today, to everybody else who's watching on Facebook. We appreciate your taking the time to view our lunch talks. And if you've missed a part of it or someone else would like to see it, it is available as a rebroadcast on Facebook. So with that, thank you, and we will see you next month. Happy Halloween, too.